Okay, welcome back. So last time we did a video on Scoutfish, our first video on it, just showing the power of the search engine for looking for games. In that video, we looked for king and pawn endings, and we found a couple of really interesting king and pawn endgames. So I just want to give a bit more of a feel for how to use Scoutfish, and we're going to do something really, really fun this time, and that's looking at or searching for queen sacrifices. Now, queen sac videos have been done many times. There's a good one by Gotham and Hikaru and so on. And obviously the question is, how do you find the queen sacs? Now, the basic thing is you go to Wikipedia and there's a whole list of them. There are the really famous ones, Evergreen Game, Richie Tartakower, and so on. But if you're starting from scratch and you had a big database, in this case, Kesa, for instance, right, you can maybe automate the process. And we'll get to trying to do that in this video. So, without further ado, just let me go to my capture screen. Now, the first thing I want to do was, I think I missed a step last time, just showing the simple Python scripts you use for accessing Scoutfish. So if we just have a look at the GitHub page again, if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, what you'll see is you've got another bit of sample text. This Python wrapper. This is not in the downloaded source. This is a separate one, and you can see what it does. It loads up his big game PGN. The search is going to be for castle's queenside by white, and then this just prints out how many there was, and then on top of that, it then just loops through. Basically, what Scoutfish does is return the PGN. So for G in games, it loops through and prints out the PGNs. And you can obviously capture that to a text file and load that up into your chess engine, right? So I've got that over here, actually. Let me check we've got everything up on the screen. That's good. Let me have a look. So this is the same code. I've just copied it into a text file. Now, if we run that, in fact, but what I'm going to change, I've changed so you can see this famous games. I don't think I have at my big, but famous games is the one which is downloaded with the source. And if you just run it, I can free on my machine, and then you can see a whole bunch of PGNs have whizzed by, which as I say, then you'd load into your GUI. Now, another way of doing it, just go on another page here, and I'll load up my queen sac script, which we'll have a look at in a second, but just as an example. Okay, we'll copy that. And rather than printing out the game score, we will just print out who is white. Test this before. I think that's going to work. So that's giving you the white players who've castled queenside. I mean, that what I'm saying is that it might be worthwhile having a simple script which lets you see the games played first. So that's something to play around with. Now let's go to this other script I've actually written for finding queen sacs, right? So if you have a look at the code here, you've got Kesa is the one I'm opening, and also using that names file. You remember I put a bunch of names in for filtering the games, and this time I've said if one of those names is in the game, and of course I've added a few classic guys like Nesmetnov to that because he's had a few famous queen sacs, and then it's probably I kind of don't know what I'm doing either, but what I've done is I've actually done the query based on all these different imbalances, one side for white and one side for black. Right, so you can see some of them make sense. A knight for a queen or a bishop for a queen. This is just material balance. A queen for two bishops, and so on. Now you notice this first one: a queen, rook, and a knight for as a sacrifice, which is kind of weird to think about. But if you've seen the Evergreen Game, you'll understand that black has an extra queen, an extra rook, and an extra knight, and it doesn't really help him, right? So I structure the query, and then I've got to add pawn to that, so I add one or two pawn imbalance to either side, and then really it is basically a case of I just use the same loop which you've seen in the other routine. You just do the query, the result, from the the Scoutfish, sorry, Scout routine. And if I run that, this does white ones, right? I can see, you can see here's the list of players. I believe I added Reti and Tartakawa as well, possibly Morphy and Anderson at the end of this list. Actually, at the list I'm not sure, to make sure I had those kind of exciting players in there. Okay, first of all, so there's 132,000 games which have one of those piece imbalances for 2 moves. I think I structured it for 2 moves, so it's just not exchanging a queen for rook, and then the reverse happens straight away. And when I filtered it, we get 561 games, right? I've already loaded that. Or this is 556. Just let me check the screen is looking okay before we continue. Yep, that looks fine. So this is have a look at the position. You can see we've got the Evergreen game. We've got lots of Morphy games. You've got lots of Anderson games. It's all good stuff, right? And there's a whole bunch of them. And you could spend days and days and days looking through these, seeing which ones are real queen sacks and which ones are reducing game. Now, we'll point out this will not, this is sort of thought for, extra steps you could take. It won't capture games where the queen move is the last move of the game, and that was a queen sack, and it won the game spectacularly. I'm thinking of the gold coin game, or I think it's in the Petrosyan Spassky World Championship. The last move of the game was the queen move, so that wouldn't capture up as be caught by Scoutfish as a piece imbalance. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, so what I want to look at is not all these famous games, but you see here's Anderson on the losing side of one. So I said, why don't we have a look at that? So I've loaded that game up. I think I've loaded it up already. And here's the key position in this game, right? Let's just see if this was really a queen sack. Now, white is totally winning this game already. You can see these beautiful bishops just pointing down into the black king is in a bit of trouble. A very nicely positioned knight. Let me see if that works. Knight, octopus knight for sure, pointing at all the key squares. And so, you'd have to say that black is totally busted already, right? But let's have a look at how this game continues. So if you look at it, white has just taken a bishop, and then the tactic here is knight d5, trying to get some counterplay. Now, actually, the white is +5. He could just move his queen, but why move your queen when you can have a spectacular queen sacrifice? So, which is what white does. He takes the rook. It takes the knight with the rook on d5. So black gets the queen. So mind you, this is a narrow path that Falkbeer has given himself. He plays rook d7, obviously takes the queen. Now, the computer is giving the best move as sacrificing the queen back, and the game goes on, but we won't have any of that. Anderson hangs on to the queen. So now you have a very spectacular a knight sack, okay? Black takes that, and now the reason for the knight sack is it got the knight out of the way. This bishop's diagonal because it was sitting there, wasn't it, right? So now the next move is rook takes g7, threatening a catastrophic double check, windmill check. You say what I'd like. So the logical thing to do is the rook would attack the bishop, threatening or sort of making that an issue. So Falkbeer simply moves his bishop out of the way. And now you're in real trouble because you can't actually attack the bishop again with the rook because the pawn's covering that square. Anderson plays queen f8, but that doesn't help. I mean, just look at the continuation. Rook f7 check. Only sensible move is move the king. And rook takes f3. Oh, there's another bishop there. We forgot about that. King moves, and we take the queen, which is overwhelming material imbalance. So that was kind of fun. That's I don't know if that's a particularly famous game, that one, but it had a sort of a unnecessary queen sack in it. So I hope they give you a bit more flavor of what you were able to do with Scoutfish. The fact that you can use this Python script and add search conditions to it, put your own filter in based on players and so on, and come up with The way I do it is I just pipe it into a text file and then load that straight into Skid versus PC, and then I can have a lot of fun looking at these particularly spectacular games. I hope you found that enjoyable, and I think later on I'll come back with a sort of maybe a quick video on when I filtered through these queen sacks and go through some of those queen sacrifices which I found particularly interesting. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching.